After their victory over the Empire at Endor, the Rebel Alliance celebrated the death of the Emperor and the capitulation of his galactic dictatorship. With it gone, the Rebels have ensured the rise of democracy and a return to old Republic values. But if it were only that easy. You see, it's a lot more complicated than the Rebels winning, taking control of Imperial territory, and reinstating democracy under the New Republic. Sure, the Rebels won at Endor, sure, Palpatine is gone, but his empire still remains. The Galactic Civil War was far from over, but the Rebels had earned a very important victory. So with the upcoming season of The Mandalorian and the release of Squadrons on the horizon, the period after Return of the Jedi has become one of the most important time frames to know and understand. So today, we'll do just that. Today, we look at the current state of the galaxy immediately after the Battle of Endor, leading up to The Force Awakens. But before we do that, we need to recap the Battle of Endor so we're all on the same page. Using the newly constructed yet partially unfinished Death Star 2 and himself as bait, the Emperor planned to lure the rebels into a last-ditch battle that would trap and destroy most of the Rebel Alliance under the weight of the Imperial fleet and the Death Star's operational laser. But with the combined might of the Rebel Navy, the local Ewoks, and a little help from both of the Skywalkers, the Emperor was killed, the second Death Star was destroyed, and most of the Imperial fleet was lost in the blast or in the retreat that followed. Without the Emperor, without Vader, and with a slew of resources wasted on a second Death Star, the Empire was pushed into a defensive war as it scrambled to maintain dominion over the galaxy. On planets far and wide, news about the Emperor's death created riots and new resistance cells against Imperial rule. The Empire, of course, attempted to downplay this apparent information and run with the false narrative that the Emperor was still alive and still giving orders, despite the fact that he was dead and those orders were either posthumous or given by Gallius Rax, counselor to the Emperor, and his immediate successor. Rax, having been trained to do so, followed the plans left by the Emperor, who, in light of his death, wanted the self-destruction of the Empire, its assets, and its secrets. This plan Palpatine laid out was called the Contingency, and it began with Operation Cinder. Now, I'm not going to cover every facet of the Contingency, but if you would like more info on it, the story campaign for Battlefront 2 goes over most of what it is and what it's supposed to do. But all you need to know is that under this Contingency plan, the Empire will destroy itself, the Emperor's flagship, the Eclipse, will escape Rebel custody and flee into the unknown regions, and the Empire that remains will engage the Rebel Alliance over and on the planet of Jakku, where Gallius Rax will destroy the planet's core and ravage both the Imperial and Rebel fleet, weakening both sides enough for an eventual galactic invasion brought about by the First and Final Orders. So each and every battle immediately following the Battle of Endor were thrown in favor of the Republic, or the Rebels, to draw them into a final stand with the Empire. And to ensure Palpatine's plans would come to fruition, Rax uplifted Ray Sloane, a Grand Admiral of the Imperial Navy, to be one of the public faces of a dying empire, while he, in a very Sith-like manner, controlled events from the shadows to keep the narrative that Palpatine was, in fact, still alive. But enough about the Empire, let's talk a little bit about the Rebels. The Rebels formed themselves into the New Republic shortly after the Battle of Endor, but their goal basically remained the same: fight the Empire, liberate worlds, and bring peace to the galaxy. Kinda weird since that was the gist of the Empire's goal during its rise to power, but I digress. So with the Contingency in mind, and with the idea that the Empire was purposefully throwing battles in favor of the Republic, by the time of the war's end, the Republic had continued their campaigns against the Empire until the galaxy went from Imperial occupation to Republic liberation. The Empire's fracturing had all but collapsed their centralized state. Both sides incorporated propaganda against one another in hopes of swaying the people to one side or the other, and Palpatine's ultimate plan on Jakku was foiled when Gallius Rax found himself betrayed by Grand Admiral Sloane, who opted to desert the battle rather than die fighting for a dead regime, killing Rax and escaping escaping into the unknown regions with figures like Brindle Hux to live another day. Sloane would then later go on to reunite with those who would become the First Order. After the Battle of Jakku, any remaining Imperial forces surrendered to the New Republic and agreed to the signing of a Galactic Concordance, which ended the war, ceded all but their holdings in the Outer Rim to the New Republic, and disarmed what remained of the Empire. This treaty all but sealed the fate of the Galactic Empire, as the loosely coordinated remains of a great union had now dissolved into remnants under control of self-proclaimed Moffs and grandstanding warlords. And lastly, to ensure a new fascist order would never rise again from their own government, the New Republic reduced its own military strength after the war and opted to establish local planetary militias akin to old rebel cells, as well as shift around the capital of the Republic to promote a new unity. Now, I don't know about you, but there's no way choices like that would come back to bite them in any way, shape, or form. Right? Right? If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this video, Star Wars, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.